I don't see our video at the moment. Okay. Okay, so people will be joining us right now. I have shared the link. So, one moment. Actually, we had some technical issues with the software. That's why we had to go live in the last moment. I couldn't connect before, so there was a small delay with the software, unfortunately.
Once you have your YouTube link, I'll also put it in Keybase.
Sure. I'll share it in the chat. I think you see our host chat. You should get the message right now.
Okay.
You have it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, great. Okay, I see first people are coming in. Hello. We welcome everyone who is watching us. I will also say a few words in Polish to welcome our guests. Witam wszystkich, którzy już do nas dołączyli. Mam nadzieję, że zaraz będą do nas dołączyć kolejni ludzie. Pytania możecie zadawać cały czas na czacie, możecie też pisać na Twitterze. Ja będę starał się wasze pytania tłumaczyć z języka polskiego na angielski cały czas. Jeśli chcecie, możecie pisać po polsku. Jeśli wolicie i nie jest to dla was problemem, piszcie też po angielsku. Okay, so people are slowly coming in. I think we can wait like 2 or 3 minutes more.
Sure.
First people coming, welcoming us. Hi there. Hi, Olga Olvek. Glad to have you here with us. You can start with your question if you want. We'll ask them a bit later. Okay, so let us give a warm welcome to our special guests today from Chia Network. Mr. Gene Hoffman and Mr. Bram Cohen came here especially for you to answer your question, any question you might have regarding the Chia network. So fire away, you can ask your questions. I will start with a few questions from us, and once we collect some questions from the chat and from Twitter, we'll quickly switch to viewers' questions because those are the most important ones. Okay, so maybe a few words of introduction about yourselves. Do you want to say something in the beginning?
I'm Bram Cohen. I created BitTorrent, and my new project is Chia. So I'm the big kahuna around here.
And I'm Gene Hoffman. Go ahead, sorry. I'm Gene Hoffman. I report to Bram. The company reports to Bram. It's my job to make his vision actually work and get out there.
Great. Awesome to have you here with us. So maybe like a general question, because there's a possibility that there are still some people here who have no clue about Chia. So if you could please tell us more about Chia and what makes it so special, I think it will be best if you tell the viewers about this.
Chia is a cryptocurrency very much in the vein of Bitcoin. It uses Nakamoto consensus. It uses the UTXO model or something very close to the UTXO model, but it has improvements on almost everything. So one of the more notable things, it uses proofs of space and time instead of proofs of work, which makes so it has farming instead of mining. It makes the process of building the chain forward much more accessible to anyone, much more secure and distributed, and much greener, much less wasteful of electricity in the process of doing that. It also has a much better on-chain programming environment than Bitcoin or really any of the altcoins do as well.
And we've also taken a different path to be able to drive adoption and fund the ongoing development. So we put a pre-farm into a public company that we hope to make public soon. And we're going to use that company to help support enterprises as they adopt Chia in the supply chain and in banking and in central bank digital currencies, as well as creating a rich developer environment around Chia Lisp and helping out the DeFi collective guys and all the cypherpunks do what they want to do too.
Great. So your plan is to be for the network to be usable both for the enterprise level users as well as people coming from the DeFi space with their projects. Yes.
Yeah, Chia is really suitable for doing like real banking type stuff in. The on-chain programming environment has the expressivity necessary to build like real DeFi applications, but is like really confidence inspiring in terms of how you do it. It's not like doing JavaScript on the blockchain like Solidity is.
Yeah, it's very much a focus on like the largest institutions in the world. So, folks like governments and their national banks. Or then on the other end of it, somebody sending money home to Guatemala. Those are the places where there's real need today. And those needs, drive real adoption. We did not build this to be yet another blockchain searching for product market fit. We built it to actually go after the things that people need to do today.
Great. So you also advertise yourself as a green blockchain, yes, as a eco one. Do you expect like your popularity to explode right now after recent tweets of the one guy that we all know very well?
Oh,
he's very active on Twitter.
Yeah, hard to
My
say.
phone blew up.
Yeah. There's so much noise going on right now. It's hard to say what's contributing to what. But definitely that's helpful. And our net space has been just exploding. It's been growing by, I believe it grew by a quarter of an exabyte overnight last night. So just completely insane growth. And hard to say where it's going to end. It's like at the current rate of growth, it will be larger than the amount of storage on planet Earth in less than 2 months. Pretty sure that's going to slow down before then.
We won't have enough hard disks for that.
Yeah. We're really not that far off from already hitting the limits of what you would get if you took every hard drive that was in inventory for sale and started farming off of that. So at some point here, if we're not already, hard to say where the space is coming from, but if we're not already, we're going to be seeing a lot of just over-provisioned capacity that people already have being set up for farming, which has been the plan all along. I'm guessing, just running numbers, that we'll probably see things level off, closer to 100 exabytes.
Yeah, and talking about the eco-friendliness, people kind of get this weird thing that's like, if you're eco-friendly, it must be free, and there is no free lunch, right? Proof of stake is a free lunch protocol. We don't think it's secure ultimately, but the thing to kind of put this all in perspective is, if we ate every single hard drive in the world, it's about 7 zettabytes. It would still use less power per year than just Ethereum. Not Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? So it's not a free lunch, but look, walking is a hell of a lot more efficient than a Tesla, but most people want the Tesla.
Yeah, that's a good allegory. Nice. So like this energy-wise, do you have any statistics how much more efficient your network is going to be comparing to, for example, they mentioned Ethereum?
Well, actually, we had a community member that we then hired, John Michael Hands, create chiapower.org. It's a full model which shows you kind of what the worst case and the best case is, and it includes plotting. as part of the energy use to kind of get there. And it basically says that on a same unit of security basis as Bitcoin, we'd be either 300 times more efficient or 10,000 times more efficient. And the big driver is between whether hard disks continue to be the primary way that consumers farm. In the next 4 to 5 years, we actually think consumer SSD will flip the kind of per terabyte price of hard drives, and they're so much more efficient to use over time.
Okay, that's an exciting news, I'd say. So I'll move to some questions from Twitter right now. First one coming from, unfortunately, I can't show the Twitter questions on screen, only the chat questions, but I will be reading them to you. So first question coming from M. Frankowski from Twitter. What is the plan from your blockchain development, DeFi, launchpads? You started talking about this, so maybe you can give some bit more details on that.
Yeah, so in terms of smart coin development, the absolute top priority thing right now is getting our pool jumping protocol working, because people are really, really clamoring for that right now. And I foolishly said we estimated for it to be done on Monday, which everyone took as like a hard deadline for the whole thing. I was like, oh, wait, no, not that. Unfortunately, it's looking like it won't be ready for Monday, but that'll be done very soon. We have prototypes of a whole lot of we have prototypes of a whole bunch of other smart coin things done, like rate limited wallets, which can spend at a certain rate, but if you get hacked, you have some key and cold storage that you can use to recall all the funds. So whoever hacked you can only get access to a small fraction of what you had, depending on how long they kept it for. Also, like distributed identities, NFTs, colored coins are another big one, obviously, that people really care about. We have at least, excuse me, prototypes of all these working, and we're going to be fixing them. We kind of broke some with some last minute changes before we got transactions working, but we're going to be releasing and polishing prototypes of all of these things, and in some cases standards for other people to make things so they all interoperate. One of the really exciting ones is colored coins, which actually has some features that are really difficult to impossible to build for colored coins, for tokens in other systems. That like our colored coins are actual coins, so you can have smart colored coins that have you can have a rate limited colored wallet. And also it enables real truly decentralized exchange. So one person can make an offer if they want to trade a certain amount of Chia for a certain amount of a colored coin. They can make a partial transaction that burns a bunch of Chia and prints a bunch of the colored coin, which is not a valid transaction. You can't do that, but they can email this to someone they want to do business with. They can post it on Reddit. They can send it to an exchange. They can do whatever. And then if the person on the other end of that wants to accept this offer, they make the other side of it. They make something that prints a balancing amount of Chia and burns a balancing amount of the colored coin. And so when you add these two together, they net out to zero, minus a transaction fee between them. And this can now be aggregated to form a valid transaction that will actually go through on the blockchain with no further interaction with whoever made the offer to begin with. And in fact, it's possible to market make with this. You can have a complex set of these things and put them together and take the spread and have a transaction that will actually be valid and go through. And this works basically automatically for any two types of colored coins, even ones that don't use the exact same standard for how their coloration works.
Okay, so that's something completely new. I've also read about this. I think it's mentioned in the white paper, the usage of that. I think what we'll do after the AMA also, we'll prepare a script of the whole AMA, because I already see that there will be so much educational stuff here for our users that will be very interesting for them to read. Okay, so first question here from our chat. a question that I think you will not answer in full, but maybe we will transfer it a bit, and we will watch your faces as you answer. So, are you already in talks with any known crypto exchanges like Binance, Coinbase, etc.?
We can't comment on any of that.
That's what we expected.
Yep.
Yeah. We would like to be listed on those exchanges. We are working with some exchanges to do further stuff. We have agreements with the ones we're talking to not pre-announce anything.
Sure.
And also, we can't vouch for how quickly they'll get their integrations done.
But even yes,
it is one important thing to think about. We're the first real implementation of BLS signatures, so it's not like these guys are just adding ERC20 or a Bitcoin fork. They're having to do some real work. So that is partially why you're not seeing the speed, but you will likely see the usual patterns. Let's say it that way.
So even though you can't answer directly the question, even the news that you are in talks with some exchanges, it's exciting on its own. Next one coming from our regular visitor Tolga. Is energy or efficiency your priority as Chia? I think it's an easy one to answer.
Well, yeah, our whole consensus algorithm is built around being more energy efficient. Those are sort of two things. The wording of the question is a little funny. Those two things very much go together. We do have some benefits as well, that like the amount of time you have to wait for your transactions to go through in Chia is much less than it is in Bitcoin, and the amount of time that you have to wait to be sure that it's really there securely and you can have confidence in it is both less and much more reliable in the amount of time. So pretty reliably in Chia, if you put a transaction up if fees are low, which they are right now, in a minute or two, you'll get a confirmation that it's on the blockchain, and after 10 minutes, it will be sufficiently buried that it has a very, very high security parameter in terms of you being sure that you can rely on the transfer actually having happened.
Yeah, and I was saying this earlier, that there are no free lunches, so we can't necessarily go to some of these protocols that are zero energy or extremely close, but we certainly are going to be the most efficient, secure chain, period.
Okay, great for the explanation. Thank you for the explanation. Next one coming from John D. Hi, Bram and Jean. He's a big fan of you. It's awesome what you guys are doing. Do you plan on implementing any type of multi-factor authentication in the future, or a more secure wallet?
I can take it. We're going to actually have Ledger support as soon as they have some code completed on their end. And with that, we're going to basically kind of rip out the current wallet security model and replace it with a much more superior interface. We were very focused on launching a blockchain, and that meant that certain things had to be less attention than we'd like. But especially for Windows and Mac, you're in a pretty secure environment with the OS keychain. Linux, you need to be a little more careful. That is not an excellent implementation on Linux, but we also thought that most Linux users were going to be more savvy about their overall security posture.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Anything more to add, or that's enough? If yes, then we move to the next question. I've seen one coming from Damian. It's like more of a general question. So do you think you have initiated a new trend that may change the crypto world forever?
I sure hope so. We may start seeing other cryptocurrencies switch to proof of space and time. Like right now, it's very hot to talk about proof of stake. The things that have gone proof of stake have either resulted in basically being a completely centralized thing where someone's acting as benevolent dictator, doing most of the bonding and just running the whole show, or just haven't deployed proof of stake, which is just rolling sideways on it. I think both of those trends will continue, and projects that are a little more serious, once we've proven it out, might just switch to proof of space and time. And then for that, they get the benefit that whoever it is that's farming for Chia would also be able to farm for their thing at the same time, using the same plots.
Yeah, and we don't only want that, we'll help people do that. We think it's a good idea for other projects that are focused on other kind of verticals to, move away from proof of work or whatever they're kind of currently doing and use proof of space and time and use the same plots and the same farmers. And, our farmers can get rewards for more than one chain.
Okay, thank you. Next question is in Polish, so I will do the translation. So the network is growing extremely fast, and it's getting more hard to farm Chia, to get the Chia as a reward. Do you plan any changes in the algorithm to make a chance for small farmers using only a few disks to have a higher chance of getting reward?
Yeah. So we are currently scrambling to get pooling protocol out as quickly as possible, really an all hands on deck kind of all out effort for it. This was the plan. We cranked the numbers up to make it so that even a relatively small farmer by proportion of the network size does get reasonably steady rewards. But the net space has gone up much faster than we expected. So we all had this plan for doing pooling protocols all along, but we've really pulled in how quickly it is that we're getting it done. And the thing that we're doing is a really, really good pooling protocol. It's one that makes it so that pools can safely allow people who just want to just join whenever without having to authenticate them in any way. And it allows people, if they're using a pool and the pool starts stiffing them, worst case scenario, they just jump to a different pool. And so we're going to have an actual full implementation of this, fully tested with a prototype pool on testnet with a real GUI for it and the ability to plot for and all that stuff. That's going to be done before the end of this month, but not totally sure exactly what day. I previously said that this upcoming Monday or next Monday was the estimated date that was estimated.
There was a question about it.
Yeah. No, I didn't expect people to be hanging on my every word quite that closely. That was estimated. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to make that day specifically, but it will be before the end of this month. And it's going to be a really, really good release. It's going to have fully tested all the way through with prototype pools there, so people can get their pools up and running as quickly as possible, and with an actual GUI for the whole plotting process and everything. So it will be a very good release. Sorry, I mean we're getting it done on a scale of weeks, so it's not as quickly as we would have liked. But it's we were a little blindsided by our own success here, so trying to get in as quickly as possible.
Get you. Okay, so I will just do a quick translation, since this was a question asked in Polish. Odpowiedzią na to pytanie są poole, których planowane było uruchomienie na 17 dnia tego miesiąca. Będzie to troszkę później, ale na pewno jeszcze w tym miesiącu te poole zostaną otwarte. Działa to w ten sposób, że będziesz mógł dołączyć do pewnej ograniczonej puli użytkowników, dzięki czemu farmiących razem, dzięki czemu twoja szansa na zdobycie nagrody powinna być statystycznie większa. Okay, so we switch back to English, and an extremely important question coming from Twitter, from Banan. Is there a chance that in the future we will be able to pay Chia for Tesla? And have you been in contact with Elon Musk about it?
I have met Elon Musk in my life. I can't claim to be friends with him or anything. We have not been in direct talks with him recently, but obviously we want people to be using Chia in general. I think we're not yet at the level of maturity in terms of number of exchanges and such that we're listed on, where it would really make sense for people to be paying Chia for Teslas, because it would it would be totally reasonable for someone to actually manipulate the Chia market price right before buying a Tesla at the current market depth. We're not we're not quite deep enough for that to make sense at this time. But that said, we definitely would like that to happen in the future. And Elon's concerns about Bitcoin energy usage are very, very real and really what Chia is meant to address.
And, one thing I think I just kind of add to that is that we're not in a rush here. Like there's a certain kind of order of operations, we want to get certain things done and ready to be able to go deploy at scale. And, we need a lot more exchange support before the Tesla buy is the right thing you'll do. Right. But we think will be the perfect solution for that when that's the time.
Yeah, since the concern here is the energy efficiency of the cryptocurrencies, since you are directly addressing this concern, then you're like a perfect choice for that. Although we also have other blockchains also coming up or already started working, who are also much more energy efficient. Let me find a question. Also coming from Tolga, once again. He's not quite sure, but the co-founder of Apple, Mr. Wozniak, got into some kind of initiative, Efforce. What are differences between Efforce and Chia network?
I don't know that one specifically.
So maybe what's the main advantage of Chia then?
Yeah, so Chia, the main thing we're talking about is its proofs of space and time. And there are lots of projects that either use proofs of stake or just are completely centralized and outright lie about it. And those ones claim to be more energy efficient, but those are not true Nakamoto consensus. Those do not have anywhere near the same kind of security guarantees as Bitcoin has. Those ones, if some fraction of the network bonds and controls the network completely, they just have an outright majority, they own it forever. That they just become the hopefully benevolent dictators of the whole thing and can just make whatever they want to have happen. It doesn't have the same kind of security properties that like Nakamoto consensus things do, where like it's entirely possible that everyone who's like mining Bitcoin today could just leave. They could just disappear. An entirely new set of people could come in and start running the network, and there would hardly be a blip. It would work just fine. And that's something you just fundamentally do not have with proof of stake. And that was Bitcoin's big innovation. And people had been working on proof of stake long before Bitcoin. It really wasn't working. It had all these deep problems, and it still does. And mostly people just push it under the rug. In practice, you can make a proof of stake system look like it's working just by someone who's a good-ish actor having enough that they basically control it and they don't manipulate it. But it really does wind up basically just being a centralized system.
So the perfect solution for decentralization, as mentioned.
Well, I would add that Bitcoin has about 80,000, 85,000 nodes on their network, and we're already approaching 500,000 nodes on our internal crawler. So the decentralization issue is huge. Proof of stake has one fundamental flaw beyond the fact that you can buy it for 51%, and that is the rich get richer. And so it is inherently centralizing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the main problem with that. I agree, because we can see this as a growing concern among the communities. I like to mix like a different difficult questions with the easy and fun ones to answer. So next one coming from JD again, also very important. Chia to the moon.
No pause.
Yeah. Well, we do not make price predictions for Chia around here. We are. Our goals have to do with adoption and usage. I think there is a general trend that things that have lots of an adoption and usage will cause demand for the underlying currency to go up, which will tend to make price go up. Our price is already pretty high. That's a lot of why our net space is exploding so much, is the price on launch is larger than we expected it to be, which has caused there to be this tremendous incentive for farming. But yeah, I mean, hopefully it would be great if price goes up, but I make no predictions.
Sure. Another question from MS. What is the next step on your list of priorities after implementing pooling? If you may shed some light.
Well, I'm not really sure what our next high priority is. There's so many things, doing software in general is like a battlefield triage all the time. So we've gotten blindsided a couple of times. We had this thing where it was really all hands on deck to get the network launched, and then everything was about being ready for transactions to start, and now we're scrambling to get pool protocol out. So hopefully once that's done, we'll be able to take a little bit more of a breather, and there won't be something that's quite so on fire. But a lot of our stuff has to do with, well, ongoing maintenance and improvement of our full node software, which has a lot of room for improvement, so going to be doing a lot of polish there, and then also doing more layer 2 stuff about beefing up our colored coins, distributed identities, NFTs, all that kind of stuff. So my best guess is of this exact moment, and this is really something we're going to have to be revisiting as soon as pool protocol is out, that we're going to have a lot of emphasis on colored coins things and trying to get stuff, some like actual things tokenized on the network, like definitely getting a bunch of stable coins out, and possibly getting other tokenized things out and getting real decentralized exchange going there. And I have some blog posts in process that explain a whole bunch more things about what really can be done in Chia Lisp and how you go about doing it. And will be like how you would do like an equivalent of Uniswap, how you would do a Chia swap, which has a lot of really amazing properties. Going to be getting those out as well. Interesting point, actually. We have Taproot already. Like Bitcoin is in the process of activating Taproot. We already have Taproot and Graftroot and covenants and capabilities and the simultaneity, which really does a lot to protect against minor extracted value. We have we're way ahead of everybody in terms of what's on our chain, and so we got to go through the process of educating the public about that and getting a developer community going. But in terms of our priorities of the things we're trying to enable immediately, my best guess is probably going to be a big emphasis on colored coins and tokenization.
Yeah, I'd only add that NFT and colored coin exchange has a couple of very near-term needs from customers, and then 6 to 9 months, we're going to start figuring out exactly which layer 2 strategies we're going to look at, because we're also starting to see that people are going to have those scale issues, a year out.
I understand. Sorry for me being less active in today's AMA, but we have an overwhelming amount of questions, and I am afraid that we will not be able to answer all of them. But since it was already mentioned, there is also a Twitter question from Kronak Artist. NFTs, how and when?
NFTs are more like a social thing than a technical thing. We have DIDs implemented already. Well, we're working on polishing that, but we basically have DIDs implemented already. And an NFT really just kind of looks like a DID that you sort of bless as meaning something in some way. But the problems with NFTs are more, how do you develop that association between the NFT and the thing that it represents? And how is that acknowledged and recorded and used? So yeah, we definitely have NFTs on our roadmap. It's not like completely central to our plans. It's not that I have anything against Christie's. It's just they're not as big as the New York Stock Exchange. But yeah, a lot of our decentralized exchange stuff works for NFTs as well, that you can offer to like trade an NFT for something else and make that happen in that way.
Yeah. Okay, so next one, not a question for a moment, but a concern from Daryl. Finally got my plotting scaled up. Now I can't find any HDDs reasonably priced. Yeah, the prices have gone up.
Yeah,
we weren't in plotting, please.
yeah, we weren't really expecting to cause this much disruption in the in the hard drive markets. The hard drive markets are very, very large and can, in principle, easily absorb the amount of demand that we've added to them, at least for now. But it's an unexpected disruption that's shoving a lot of stuff around. So it's going to have to move in response. But good news is it's nowhere near the same scale of messing up the market as we've seen happen for GPUs, thanks to cryptocurrencies, just because there's a much, much larger market for storage than there is for those things. So there's this buffer.
There's also some macro stuff going around because the pandemic, a lot of mid-sized enterprises put off buying hard drives. And so we unfortunately had this happen at the same time that a large number of mid-sized enterprise orders went in. So you got a very short-term blip. It should get better.
Yeah, I think we just have to wait it out a bit and it will get back to normal. Next question, very interesting one from Alexander Nick in our chat. Are there plans to implement zk-SNARKs in the future to allow for private on-chain transactions?
So SNARKs have all kinds of interesting usages. We are not a privacy coin. I view privacy coins as a niche. In cryptocurrencies, you pay a pretty high price in terms of how much of a pain really basic stuff is and how much functionality you can have when you have a privacy coin. I think that is a real niche, though. But we are not a privacy coin. We're not going to be a privacy coin. But that kind of technology is really useful for doing things like making a very succinct proof that the state that like a particular history of the blockchain is valid and that the current coin set root is a particular thing, right? If you make a nice succinct proof of that, that makes it so that someone can just validate that proof, and then it's much, much easier for them to validate the historical blockchain. They really just have to download it and check that the secure hashes line up at that point, and they don't have to rerun validation of the entire thing. And there's halfway points to that. That's really doing the whole kit and caboodle is a lot of work, but you can really dramatically reduce the amount of work in validating the blockchain by doing that same kind of thing, like just for VDFs or just for BLS signatures, things like that. So there's lots of places where that kind of technology could be used. Also could be used if you do like sidechain kind of stuff. So you can have validations of the sidechain. That is really interesting. That's huge projects to get that working. I'm not sure where exactly that kind of stuff might be going. Partially, we don't have any support in Chia lists for any snark type stuff, partially because well, everything's kind of heavyweight in terms of how big this stuff is, but also that tech is moving so fast that we're not sure where it's going to settle down. So it's going to be some years out before we have something where we're pretty sure we know like what the right tech stack is for it and what it's going to be used for. So we might add like snark validation into Chia lists via soft fork at some point in the future, but that's going to have to be much more mature than it is today before we seriously consider that.
But the snark teams are very close friends, so.
Okay, I think that's all. That also covers the question. Dodge in reality is asking, we have seen mention of needing small amounts of Chia token in order to partake in pools. Is this legitimate? Do you have to hold it?
Well, you need a transaction fee to join a pool. Towards that end, or well, you need a coin anyway. Actually, right now fees of 0 might actually be going through, but to that end, we actually have, if you want a mojo, right now you can go to faucet.chia.net and you'll get your mojo. So
about 100 mojos actually. About 100 mojos.
About 100 mojos. Oh, okay. So there's a trillion mojo in a Chia. The mojo is the Chia equivalent of what a Satoshi is in Bitcoin. It's the minimum indivisible unit. There's a trillion mojo in a Chia. So yeah, you can go to faucet.chia.net and get enough mojos that you'll be able to get set up to start pooling, although we don't have pooling protocol out yet. But that is up and running right now. Feel free to test it. 100 mojos is not worth very much. You're not going to get rich off of this. Please don't DDoS that site. It's meant for the good of the community. Yeah. But yeah,
we'll provide the link to our community, sure.
Yeah. So you will be. So it does require a transaction on chain in order to start with our pooling protocol, but that's because there's actual state on chain because it's keeping track of what pool you're currently joined to, so that you can switch between pools, right? Whatever pool you're a member of needs to have an assurance that if you happen to get a reward right now, they'll be able to claim it instead of you going, oh, hey, I got a reward. I'll just keep it for myself and take off from this pool in the event of a reward actually happening. So for that to happen, you need state on chain. So you need a transaction to get that set up, but it's just a transaction fee. And we have like, we have the capacity of 20 transactions per second in Chia, which is quite a bit, and there isn't much demand for transactions yet. So there isn't really any transaction fee pressure. So this is not a big deal at all.
Okay, thank you. Another question, I think you partially answered it a few minutes before, but maybe get it clear. Is Chia immune to 51% attack?
No, Chia is not immune to a 51% attack. 51% attacks are inherent to anything vaguely Nakamoto consensus-like. However, Chia is much more distributed than Bitcoin is. So as a matter of practice, it would be much, much harder to pull off a 51% attack on it.
Also, it can recover from 51% attack in a way that like proof of stake cannot.
Yeah, it's Nakamoto consensus. So like a proof of stake system, if you get 51% attacked, they just own it forever and there's no recovering. Where Nakamoto consensus, if someone 51% attack gets it for a while and then loses their 51%, then everything can go back to normal afterwards.
Okay. There's a discussion in the chat right now between Jay Eckert and John D. Stating that the Chia didn't really disrupt the supply, just the short-term retail supply. So we just, as we mentioned, we have just wait out a bit for the retailers to get used to the new demand for the hard drives.
Yeah. Also, in particular, there's a big emphasis on plotting right now because the work difficulty is going up so quickly. Everyone's trying to get their stuff plotted as fast as possible because space right now is worth a lot more than space later. Once things settle down a bit, that's not going to be true anymore. So the market, so it's going to be really just kind of a blip, I think, for these like enterprise class SSDs that all of a sudden a whole bunch of retail people are buying. Because first off, they'll own the ones that they bought already, and second off, they won't need them as much when the work difficulty is much more stable. So that's going to settle down quite a bit. And there's also, once the work difficulty is much, much higher than it is right now, I'm guessing it'll settle down closer to like 100 exabytes. Then people aren't going to be doing so much buying of space just to farm off of it, because that's going to be a money-losing proposition at that point. It's entirely possible that in some months or a year or something like that, we're going to see a whole bunch of farmers take the space that they bought to farm with and decide that it's worth more to sell it than it is to keep farming it, and that could actually result in a drop in storage prices as that hits the market, because farming doesn't destroy the equipment and it's general purpose equipment. It's perfectly fine equipment.
Yeah, and OEMs and the like Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc., they have long-term supply contracts, and they've not been disrupted in any way by this. It's the guys kind of in the middle in the retail channel only, and the guys in the middle, again, like mid-sized enterprises, they were just about to buy anyway. They heard about this, they got afraid, they put in big orders. Our farmers put in big orders. It's a very temporary retail supply chain shock.
Yeah, so you can keep calm and just wait for the prices to get back to normal. An important question from Upton Reynolds. Will pool operators get ample time to test their pools and reward distributions on testnet?
I wouldn't say ample time. Because people are demanding it so much, we're probably going to have like a few days of testing of pool prototypes on testnet, and there will be in our pool prototype, there's going to be a section on like rewrite this, like basically, people who do pools have very strong opinions about how you grade people for the partials that they send in. That's really exactly the same in Chia as it is in Bitcoin. I do not know that business logic very well at all, and other people have strong opinions about it. So I'm anticipating basically everyone who's a serious pool operator is going to want to go and rewrite that portion of the code that has the logic around how big everyone's credits are and when it gives payouts to them.
Okay. One of the concerns that we have seen even in our community when setting up your Chia farm is the plotting. There's a question from Nico once again. After pools are live, do we need to replot?
No, you don't have to replot, in the sense that your existing plots will continue to work just fine. However, if you want to have smoothed out rewards, you're going to have to replot in order to get that out of your existing space. But existing plots that you have will continue to work. There's also, apparently there's a weird rumor going around that K32s won't work anymore. That's not true at all. K32s work just fine. They're going to keep working just fine.
It's going to be many years before K32s change. Many.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, next one about plotting from Jonas states. Do you think plotting process could be further optimized? If yes, by which factor?
Yes, by less than a factor of 2.
Probably a little less than that, because we got some of your factor of 2 in the last couple releases, actually.
Yeah, but there's still definitely room for improvement. So not sure where it's going to settle out. But we already put in a lot of optimizations, but there's known, like, there's either known specific things that we just haven't done yet, or places where it really looks like it should be possible to improve on things. So there will be improvements in the future.
Yeah, also there'll be some resume functionality pretty soon. Can't exactly tell you when, but it'll be in the next weeks. So that will help as well. We have intentionally not been working on the plotter because, 4.2 XB bytes later, it's working pretty well. But we will be turning back to it once we get past pooling and a couple other things that are just on fire.
Great. Next one from Doraemon. Who will have 6 exabytes? Yes. Chia or Filecoin?
Yeah, we're beating them fast. Like our rate.
So we're adding about a quarter XB byte every 8 hours right now. We're at 4 1/4 XB bytes, and they're only at 5.3 XB bytes. So maybe tomorrow we flip Filecoin. Certainly by Friday or Saturday.
So no chance for them in this race. And next one about the also on this from Zilum. Maybe that's how you read it. When will the growth of Chia network slow down?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be slowed down by the incentives changing. That it will have gotten so big that the work difficulty resets will have dramatically reduced the incentive for making it bigger. So I'm guessing slowdown, and this is just a wild guess because you can't fit to S curves. You have no idea where they're going to invert. But my guess is we're going to see, start seeing kind of a slowdown around, let's say 20 exabytes, and it's going to, get reasonably stable-ish closer to 100 is my best guess, but that's just a wild guess. I mean, that's not that's not something that I would personally want to bet money on, although obviously when you're doing farming investment, you are betting money on it. So you have to make some kind of a guess as to what's going to happen here, but it's just very, very hard to predict.
Yeah, and also, how fast is it going to grow? Netspace, that's the answer. But total adoption, exchange adoption, user adoption, I don't expect that to stop growing anytime soon.
Okay, and from Styrk, can you make a better estimation of Netspace growth till the end of May than previously 4?
Oh,
10?
yeah. So I undershot quite a bit there.
No, nobody expected that, I think.
Yeah. Well, people thought I was crazy predicting that much, I think. By the end of May, well, that's 2 weeks out. So
that's probably like 10-ish.
Yeah, we're over 4 right now, and let's say 10, somewhere around 10. Probably less than 10. I might have to eat my words on that one, but I'm guessing less than 10.
I think it's safe to guess 10 right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So me and Gene are guessing. Our guesses seem to be hitting somewhere around 10, maybe more, maybe less, depending on how crazy you think things are going to continue to be. They're pretty crazy right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we will see about this by the end of May. A repeated question, sorry for missing it before, from Carl Park. Can we get a statement on the opinion of the current state of HPOOL and their growing size compared to the entire network?
Yeah, we don't like how big HPOOL is. This is part of why we're pushing out our new pooling protocol. The pooling protocol that HPOOL is using is really, really broken and sketch and not good. And it's probably possible to steal from them, actually, given the way they're doing things. And also, I think they're requiring you hand over your keys to them. So you're really trusting them to not steal your legitimate things in the future. It's really sketchy and bad, and I don't like it at all. So please don't use HPOOL. And we're working on, the only thing slowing down our pool protocol is we're making a really good protocol that actually works and actually is secure. So making something that's really just them depending on installing malware on your system so that they can think they have some control over you, that's something that can be deployed quickly, but is not a good thing at all.
Yeah, we do want to get HPOOL to adopt our new pooling protocol software because they do have real problems. They're being stolen from because people are able to fake space to the pool that they can't actually win with on the chain. So don't necessarily compare the claimed space on HPOOL to their total space against netspace because the claimed space is illegitimate. You should look at their rewards over the trailing days to see what their actual size is.
Okay. There's also a question regarding the safety from crypto field, but I think it was covered already by the statement on the private key.
Yeah.
You want to add something?
Not really. Just HPOOL is sketchy as hell. I like Gene said, I would like, once our real pooling protocol is pushed out, for them to switch over to our real pooling protocol and knock it off with the quasi malware bullshit that they're doing right now.
And I think they're going to, Bram. So
yeah.
Okay, I'm rushing a bit because I know that the time is limited. So quickly, next one from Marco Varese. What about the continuous problems of syncing happening still on the syncing latest release? It's frustrating to notice your farmer is not really farming as it's not in sync.
Yeah. So kind of two things here. One, there's just connectivity problems on the internet in general. Like there's this stupid bullshit where people in Europe, their IP address changes every 2 hours for no apparent reason whatsoever, which is just freaking horrible. And a lot of things don't have great UPnP port forwarding support. We're working on improving these things. And the internet just kind of sucks, but working on improving that. Also, we had a hiccup on Sunday where, due to a screw up on our part, there was a bad transaction which was able to get through the mempool, but caused invalid blocks to be made. So that caused a chain stall. And to get around that, everyone really should upgrade to the latest version of software. We pushed out an update to our software almost immediately when that happened, and people started upgrading very quickly. But we don't have auto updates, so people have to go in and do that update to get the benefits of it.
I'd add that if you're having sync problems, the number one thing you can do is open port 8444. Sorry, too many fours.
Yeah,
you will get a deluge of new peers if you do.
Yeah. That will magically fix your connectivity problems. The whole problem with the internet is this port forwarding issue.
As I mentioned, we surely will make a script with the most important information because there's a lot of stuff here covered. Next one from Seed Grip. What metrics are being used to determine plot size going to a K33 minimum? Just saying yours doesn't mean anything.
We have no particular plans to disallow K32s for the foreseeable future. The things that would cause us to make K32s stop being supported is if we get into a situation where computers are big and fast enough that grinding K32s in response to a challenge is a profitable thing to do. We are quite a few orders of magnitude off from that being the case today, and that might continue to be the case for, I don't know, forever. We don't know. So don't worry about your K32s being invalidated. They're fine.
Okay, that clears the concern. One question from Carol, like about the future of Chia and development. Are you thinking about expanding utility of Chia blockchain, like via Chia Pay or something like that? Like projects that are quite common in the space?
We really want a whole ecosystem built up around this whole thing. We want to be on exchanges. We want wallet support. We want stable coins and other kinds of tokenization on top of things. We want hardware wallet support. We want payment processors using it. We want the whole shebang. We're going to be working on getting this whole ecosystem built out.
Okay. So it's also somewhere in the future. Casual Critic is asking, any chance we'll be able to see info currently stored in the log files in one of the upcoming versions of the GUI so that you can verify more easily that everything is in fact working correctly?
Yeah, so the we're working on improving our GUI. There's lots of improvement all over the place. We're working on it as quickly as we can. There's so many things to do. One of the things that our pooling implementation will have supported from the get-go, but not good UX for immediately, is actually tracking how you're doing on your pool. So when you've joined a pool, you'll be able to track like what rewards am I getting from this pool versus what rewards do I think I should be getting from this pool, so you can tell if you're getting stiffed by the pool, and if you are, switch pools.
Also, the last attempted proof section is really all you need to know about whether or not you're farming.
Okay. So another concern addressed, I'd say, from Jay Eckert once again. Here's a question. It's a two-comment question, so one moment. Do you guys have any metrics or tools on your site to compare the efficiency of existing blue boxes to the needs of the network, and if they are keeping up or falling behind? And do you ever plan to make it available for the public to see, to make decisions about running?
Yeah, we'd really like more people to be running blue boxes. This is one of those things that in the list of many things to do isn't super high priority right now. So a blue box is when the Time Lords make proofs, the initial ones that they make are much larger than they really need to be, which means that they're more bandwidth to distribute and more computational power to validate. So there are these things called blue boxes that just make more compact versions of these and publish them so that the more compact versions can be used. Those, like running a Time Lord with a chance of winning, requires a bunch of fancy setup. Running a blue box requires a bunch of CPU, but it can be a much slower machine because it's not on any particular timeline. It's just it's making short versions of VDFs that have already finished, so it doesn't need to finish them quickly. It just needs to finish them at all. We are planning on improving the GUI and such of our blue boxes, encouraging more people in the community to run them. That's a really great thing if you want to be altruistic for you to do, but we don't have it supported super well yet.
Yeah, and jumping to the second part of that question, there's a bit of a catch-up stage where we kind of need to like unbury from all of the proofs of time we haven't caught up to. Once you do, you actually have approximately 4,608 proofs of time per day. It's higher, but it's a fixed amount. So you can get to a level where there's enough blue boxes and you can actually track that to know that we're going to be behind by 6 hours, and that's about it. We'll do something like that. It's just not as high priority as pools. So. Oh, and Windows, we will have support for Windows for blue boxing. We just don't have it yet.
Oh, great. That's also an important information for some users, for sure. One more concern from Twitter about the ecology. Okay, I will not read the name of the guy because it's like a set of numbers and letters. You consider yourself an ecological organization, so why does the consensus algorithm operate on disks? Such a solution will generate a huge amount of electro waste. What do you think about that?
Yes. So the plan is mostly that you don't get people buying storage just for the sake of farming off of it. We're seeing a fair amount of that right now just because it's a gold rush. It's a land grab. As the work difficulty goes up, you're going to be seeing a lot less of this, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of people who have over-provisioned storage are going to be farming off of it. People who are disposing of hard drives because they're end of life, because they're not reliable enough for whatever they were using them for before, are going to be switched over to farming. You're going to be seeing the factory rejects are going to be farming. You're going to be seeing a lot more of that. So it's really leveraging the waste that happens in the storage industry, which is already like a huge industry and already has a huge amount of waste that's happening in it. So leveraging that is really the plan.
Yeah, and look, this is that thing I said earlier, which is walking is tremendously more efficient than driving a Tesla.
Yeah.
But, I want to get there at 70 miles an hour, and I don't really want to go at, 7 miles a day, right? And, the alternative to doing proof of stake, for example, is having it so that nation states can steal entire networks from each other. North Korea can buy your stake network for 50.1% of the value quietly and gently, and then you don't know that you've been owned. Here, 5 odds is already a major storage buyer in the storage market. And so doubling that isn't easy. And we like that from a security perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, in terms of carbon emissions in the atmosphere, the amount per kilometer from walking, if you're a meat-eating human being, is quite a bit more than in a Tesla. It's just that when you walk, you don't go nearly as far as you do when you drive a car.
Okay, I see that the hour we scheduled for is coming to an end. Do you have like 10 more minutes to spare, or we can't ask more questions?
I have a few minutes.
Yeah, I think I do too. Let me know.
Okay, so let's do 2 or 3 more questions quickly. One more from Twitter. Do you think about updating the consensus algorithm so that it does not wear out disks, especially SSDs, so quickly?
Oh, so it's the plotting thing that wears out disk, not farming. Farming is almost no load on disk at all. It's very, very minimal. It's hard to further optimize the plotting process all that much. But mostly you should just use appropriate equipment. If you plot using an enterprise class SSD, or you plot using just a plain old HD, then you don't have this wearing out of drives problem. It's only if you very specifically plot using consumer SSDs that are the standard ones on the market right now that your things get destroyed.
And look, we say that everywhere in the documentation and in the instructions. And, people who are saying, oh, but I have to use SSD, I get 6-hour plot times on USB 3 straight to a hard drive. They're just simply saying, well, I want to be ahead of everybody else, and therefore I want to take the most expensive route. Don't take the most expensive route. Take the green route if you care. And the green route is plotting directly to hard drive.
Yeah, that's good advice if someone is concerned about this. One question that is repeated in the chat, and also it appeared on Twitter, maybe you will want to address it if possible. Are there tokens for the team and early investors? If yes, how much and when will they be unlocked?
So Chia is a company. There's a pre-farm that's owned by the company. All investors and employees are shareholders in the company and do not directly own any tokens at all. It's just that the company owns the pre-farm. The company is sitting on the pre-farm for the foreseeable future. It will, do something with it at some point in the future, but for the time being, mostly just sitting on it. And to the extent that we're raising money, we're doing it as equity investments in the company, which is not dilutive to people who are farming the network.
And there are no direct claims from those investors and those shares. Bram and I are compensated with equity. It looks a lot like a classic Silicon Valley startup. But obviously, when we're raising money, the value of the coins is a part of the valuation that we can use to raise money.
Okay. Thanks for elaborating on that. I think it's answered the questions of the community. Okay, so we'll do one last question. It's more like a philosophical one, let's say, and it might be a good advice for other projects. How did you manage to build such a strong and fervent community in such a short time? What are the learnings which could be useful for future projects? So like a general question to close.
Yeah, well, this is there's one part of our community which is very built up, which is farming. That's a very built up community. Our the Chia developer community is not very built up yet. We've mostly, successful virality, right? We made it so that farming is very accessible to a lot of people in order to do it, and is very equitable in terms of rewards that it gives for it. And it actually gives rewards, which everybody loves, earning money, right? So that's why it's taken off so quickly. We've put a big emphasis on trying to make it be a nice, supportive community. We're not big on unicorns and rainbows, but we are big on don't be a jerk.
and we've set that tone. I have spent a lot of time in our communities making sure that people understood that, in the past in crypto projects, the crypto project needed every single person. And so people could behave very badly and the developers would put up with it. And our response is that we would love to have you, but if you cannot behave, you are not part of the community. Have a nice day.
Yeah, for the most part, people have gotten with the program. That even people who appear to be meme lords, when they're when you look at their profile, when they start doing Chia stuff, they like context switch and start behaving a lot nicer, just because that's the expectations of the community.
Okay, I said this will be the last question, but we had one more show up in the chat. Physics is fun. How about a delete plot button on the GUI that doesn't destroy the universe?
So we thought we had that fixed. We put the delete button back in, and it broke again on Windows. We know we're going to probably take the delete button back out for one release and then put it back because we got to get the plotting UI first. We're very sorry about that.
Okay, thanks. And okay, from Neko, I think that's to you, Bram. Thanks for torrents.
Oh, you're very welcome. It is. That was a big, long part of my life there. I'm retired from working in that business, at least for the time being, but proud of having accomplished so much. So thank you.
Bram helped you fill up your hard drives, and now he's paying you to delete them.
Yeah. Okay, so as much as I would like to ask more questions from the community, because we had, as I said, an overwhelming interest, the time is coming to an end. I think there was a lot of questions and the answers were very educational. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Bram, for coming here for us, for answering all those questions. And, well, best of luck, and I hope you can stick to the roadmap, as you have a lot of things planned for future, as you mentioned during this AMA.
Yeah, we're trying to get stuff done as quickly as possible. There's a lot of stuff to do,
and we're also expanding our resources. The team's gonna be growing pretty quickly. So
awesome! Thank you for an awesome AMA. Thanks the community for coming, showing up, and asking this question. And well, maybe we'll have a chance to meet once again in future once the network hits 100 exabytes. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that takes.
Okay. Thank you, guys, and see you in future.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.